Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining our second session today. Today, we are joined by Maurice. Maurice is an experienced and successful bilingual talent management specialist with more than 20 years of experience in the talent acquisition and the human resources industry. Maurice has a solid track record of successfully filling those challenging roles, including executive C-suite level opportunities to those hard-to-fill technology roles. Maurice has consulted and partnered with businesses including BMO Harris Group, Royal Bank, AIG Sun Life, but has helped build resource teams for smaller organizations such as MDS Aero Support and MTS Allstream, which is now TELUS Mobility. So thank you so much for joining the event today, and thank you for everyone for being here. I'll just come back near the end just to help close things out. Okay?
Terrific. Thank you. Thank you, Sandra, for having me, and really appreciate being here, and hope everybody is having a great day. So here to discuss offer letters and or cover letters, cover letters and resumes. And so really, there's a lot that goes into that. It's like writing a good book, I always say. And you want to make sure that you've got the right details and all the details, but having those details in a very succinct fashion. When you have recruiters or HR people, they are going to, some are going to do keyword searches depending on the industry you're in. Some are going to read through it like a fine-tooth comb, and others, and I'll say probably 80 to 90%, are going to look right down at your education experience or your work experience. So it's very important to highlight some of those areas that and strengths that you are bringing to the table to get yourself noticed. As I always like to say, you have about a 15-second window with recruiters and HR people who are reviewing your resumes to get your point across and get it across succinctly and quickly, especially in large matrix organizations like any of the big banks in Canada, any of the big insurance companies, or any large organization, whether that be Google or Facebook, who are going to be looking at hundreds of resumes, and they have to decide on one particular individual. So, some tips there to think about in terms of cover letter. Again, not all places are going to look for cover letters. It is, I think it's important to put in cover letters, but if you're going to put in a cover letter, make sure it's succinct, make sure it is very detailed in short order, and get your point across of why you should be the person that they are going to want to interview or hire for that particular role. I want to really try and make this forum, if you will, a dialogue, and really try to answer questions or concerns or thoughts you may have, and sort of get everybody involved. So I'm going to sort of open the door and get everybody here involved. So if you have questions, maybe put them out there on the chat. I'll say here, please put questions on chat. So Alice has asked, should you include interests and hobbies in your resume? Yes, absolutely. I was actually asked, and I'll share an example with you. I was actually asked in a resume by an HR director about some travel I did, and I use this as an example. And it was a place that was on her bucket list, and we probably spent about 10 minutes talking about that particular adventure that I'd taken a few years before. And ironically, I ended up getting that and securing that contract with that particular client. So yes, I think it's if you've got some hobbies, whether that is, well, I'm using travel, but cooking or some sort of sport maybe that you do. Those are always great things because they are door openers, they're conversational pieces. Um, don't have them up at the top of your resume. I would certainly have them at the bottom of your first or second page or third page. But don't but they are necessary and people do look at them. Yes, great question. Vinco has asked, how do you make a cover letter stand out since recruiters probably see hundreds of them every day? Great question, Vinco. Yes, there are probably a number of offer letters I can share with you from my experience that I would go through in a day, in a week. So there's some tricks that you can always use depending on what you're applying for. If you were applying to a financial institution, insurance company, or any sort of bank, that kind of thing, or credit union, I'd be a little bit more conservative with your approach. If you're applying to an advertising company or maybe even IT, you want to then highlight maybe some of your skills. So if you've got, for example, if you're in IT, you may want to share your Slack profile or GitHub in the offer letter, just a link really to those sites so that they can get a look and a little bit more detail on you and go through it themselves very quickly, which will really add value. And you can just simply introduce yourself as, hi, my name is Vinco. Please see my attached details on my Slack or GitHub profiles. You could also, if you're in advertising or you're in some sort of sales, you might want to put something catchy like if you're in sales, for example, you might want to put, the last 5 years sold 105%, above, target, and or highlight some of the key sales that you have accomplished. Or advertising could be the same thing, or if you're doing web design, that could be a little bit more artsy in terms of what you put on your cover letter. For example, maybe links to sites that you've created, or just even brands that you have created or helped create. So hopefully that gives you some tips on that, Vinco. And now, one thing I did want to point out too, I mean, we can always, with your resume, I always encourage people to have their accomplishments right at the beginning. And, that accomplishment can be anything from graduating from your MBA, that can be being bilingual in multi languages, that can be, if you are in analytics or and you have, strong use of things like SQL or Power BI, or whatever the case the industry might be. Given your level, whether you're brand new to the industry or it is old hat, I always try to highlight some of your accomplishments before you get into your experience. If you're a new grad, then I would highlight your recent accomplishments from your graduating status at university, and recruiters and HR people will know intuitively, reading through that that you are looking to begin your career, right? So that is fine to put that education at the top, especially if you are starting out your career right upon completion. So there's different tactics that you would use, right, in that type of format, if you will, right, depending on where you are in your career. Does that make sense? Also, just one thing to note too, before I get to your question, Alice, is that one thing I do try to encourage is that you should try to keep your resume, I think I mentioned right off the top, succinct. So try not to make it any longer than 3 pages. I've seen resumes that are 5, 6, 7, 10 pages long. And quite frankly, that is far too long. And the problem is recruiters will become very disengaged with those type of resumes. You might, and I often see it in more analytical and technical type of roles. So try to always, you might have used a lot of skills, especially if you're an experienced person in one of those areas, or even in sales or marketing or advertising or whatever the industry. Try to always be succinct with your details. And again, people will have keyword searches, and if they really need to find out if you are using some sort of particular technology. So Alice, you've asked, what's the best way to highlight soft skills like communication or teamwork in a resume? Again, that can be put in the accomplishment sections, or again, I've seen, which I find very effective, is a little section even at the end of your resume. People call it milestones or soft skills or communication style. And I would put those kind of soft skills in bullet form at the end, right? So maybe just before your interests, for example, okay? And again, it becomes, a great way to highlight some of those soft skills. If you are, again, if you are a new grad, then, or you're a couple of years in, those soft skills can also be put up in your, again, accomplishments or strengths. You can call that kind of profile. I use the word profile, so it gives the viewer a bit of highlights about me. And so I might say, 20 years, for example, of recruitment experience and in such and such an industry. And then, highlight a few key areas that I accomplished over the years. And then, put in soft skills, strong communication style, succinct or diligent or analytical or detail orientated, team player. Those kind of things can be one of your bullet points in your profile at the beginning or top of your resume. Stephen, how do you deal with employment gap on resume? How would you go about explaining it to recruiters seeing that gap? Great question, Stephen. So there's many different reasons people have employment gaps. That could be taking a year to travel. That could be parental leave. That could be, dealing with family issues, or that could be just even, you wanted to take some time to spend with family and weren't really working. So, people have different reasons. I have seen, for example, on someone's resume, global traveler, for example. And I get it. They've taken a year out, and that's fine. I did that myself, or to visit family overseas, or I've certainly seen on resumes parental leave. Right, people want to spend time at home when their children are young. So again, it's perfectly fine. Again, just highlight the dates. For example, if you were out resume the other day and we had step back because her kids were young, and she'd been out of the workforce for 5 years, but it was very clear on her resume, and it looks like our client is going to hire her, and it's just very transparent. It's just very upfront. And people take time off for various different reasons, and so don't be afraid to highlight that. Because it's a decision that you made, and it's an important decision that you went through to better yourself one way or the other. Hopefully that made sense. Let me know, Stephen, if you have a follow-up on that. Gustavo, sorry, I've got a few monitors here, so what suggestion would you give to someone who is not in Canada and wants to get a job offer before going? That's a great question, Gustavo. It is a challenging and perplexing question, and there's no sort of right answer with that. So, for example, if you are currently overseas and looking to, return to Canada, or do you have permanent residence already established, or Canadian citizen established? Again, that can be challenging, and it depends on the role. So I go back to using, for example, IT type of opportunities where I have myself hired people who are overseas to bring them over, as well as even during COVID, as long as they were, Canadian citizens or permanent residents. If that, if you're looking to immigrate, again, you will need that kind of work status for the most part, unless, of course, you got a different type of visa, whether it's a postgraduate visa or whether that's a part-time work visa because you're here on, study. You're studying one of the colleges or universities. So it's not always a straightforward answer, Gustavo. But what I can say is that if you have you are looking and you have you're currently living overseas, and you have a Canadian telephone number and an email. Generally, that's what you need to put on the resume, right? And then, if you are, for example, in another country but looking to return to Toronto or Vancouver or Montreal, wherever you may be, then you can highlight that to the HR business partner or the recruiter when you do speak with them. Okay. Vinco has asked, specifically for tech positions, what would you suggest someone do to increase their marketability as a candidate if they are trying to switch into this field with a non-traditional tech background? So a great question, Vinco. And the challenge with that is, of course, if you are trying to get into a new industry altogether, first of all, kudos for you for doing that. And it's a life choice, and in terms of taking a few steps back to go forward, in the long run. And so, what I would say to that is that sometimes you have to really try and jump in and get your feet wet in the industry. So if you're coming from a non-technical background and you are looking to apply to IT roles, if I'm understanding your question correctly, then you might have to really try and market yourself to smaller or mid-sized companies, and you have to try and get them to take a chance. Sometimes for them to take a chance on you, that's going to cut your compensation. But what you do is you again look at the long run with this. And so you spend a couple of years with them, growing, learning, absorbing all the technologies that you're particularly interested in. So for example, let's say you wanted to become an iOS developer or an Android developer, software developer, and maybe that's what you're moving into from an analytical role. Well, again, take those opportunities and get in there, even if they're smaller organizations. Because the experience will be valuable to you, right? And again, and network with people that are in the industry, people that are like-minded individuals that are also developers, both Android or iOS, and I'm using this as an example, of course, to find out various different contacts or agencies or vendors that are specific to that or your industry, your chosen industry, that can help elevate your career, right? So I always say, don't be afraid to contact recruiters, get on their radar. And there may not be a position today, tomorrow, or next week, but down the road, when you've got some more experience in your belt, then they could be very valuable to you at that point in time. So for example, if you're in the insurance industry, there's a great insurance agency based in Toronto that covers all of Canada, and I'm just using them as an example. But they will help market anybody to get into the insurance industry. So great question. But as I say, sometimes we have to be prepared to take a step or two back to, in the short term, with the long run being more advantageous in your new chosen industry. So to clarify, Stephen, I highlight the dates on my resume and the reason for my employment gap, and explain some similar reason on the cover letter. You don't have to. I wouldn't highlight it. I don't think it's necessarily. You can put it in as kind of as if you were putting in a job. So for instance, if you were, again, using paternity leave, if you were on paternity leave from 2015 to 2017, I would just put paternity leave 2015 to 2017. And then, 2017 onwards, you've worked for such and such a company. So that's all I would put, right? And if the HR BP or recruiter wants to ask, more about it, then they will certainly ask more about it, and just be prepared to answer truthfully about the year off or the 2 years off or whatever the case may be. Okay. Aria, any tips for someone trying to get into SAS sales development rep? So with sales experience. Okay. So you want to get into SaaS sales. Again, there are specific agencies out there that deal with, like Toronto Job Shops. I know they have a tech side, but they might have a sales side. Speak to some of those recruiters. Gear your resume and your cover letter and your profile more about who you are, especially if you're going from one sort of sales area to a different sales area. Take some courses on increase your knowledge on SaaS or SQL and selling in that industry. Network with people in that industry. Again, because salespeople are always needed, especially in those particular industries. So highlight the fact that you're willing to jump on board and learn, and willing to sort of build up your career in SAS. So you're not sort of saying you want an entry level job, but you are saying that you're ready to learn and jump in and be that person who will succeed in the role, because it has to be compelling for the hiring leader to want to move forward with you, right? So what is going to be compelling? It could be your previous sales experience and the numbers you are doing. It could be the fact that you are tech savvy and that's why you want to get into tech sales. And then you're not afraid to pick up the phone or reach out. So again, your communicative style is all going to be things that you can highlight in your profile and or your cover letter. But again, just be very succinct about it. Okay, thanks for the insight. I'm going to jump back on the video. Thanks, Sandra.
Hi, yeah. So it's 3:30, so we have the panel starting just on the main stage. So if you want maybe to, I don't know if there's an email or perhaps your LinkedIn, if you want to just put into the chat there in case anyone wants to contact you after the event.
Okay, I will do that, Sandra, right now, so that people have my contact information, and I'll send them my LinkedIn profile, and people are welcome to reach out to me if they've got any more questions, and happy to discuss. So thank you all for having me today. Sandra, thank you for you and the team at Toronto Job Shop, Toronto Jobs, sorry. And for having me today. It's been a great experience and some great questions today. And again, thanks again. Really appreciate your time.
Okay, and thank you again for your speaking session today. It was great to have you, and thank you so much for taking that time and to answer all of those questions. So it was great. Thank you so much, and thank you to everyone.
Yeah. Thanks everybody. Have a great day.